What's up, everyone? I'm Brett.
And I'm Elisa, and we have been dating for an entire decade.
10 years.
10 years. And to celebrate this amazing accomplishment, we decided to rent a camper van, drive down the West Coast, and end up in the ancient redwood forest.
That's right. And along the way, we're going to be giving you 10 tips that we think have seriously helped our relationship along these 10 years. This won't have broad stroke tips like telling you to communicate. You already know that. And we dug deep. So let's go.
Tip number 1, active support and encouragement. Everyone wants to feel supported and wants to be encouraged in a relationship, especially when it's a long-term romantic relationship.
So obviously a no-brainer is you want to communicate your life goals and aspirations to your partner so that they can support and encourage these life goals. And passive support is okay, but it really doesn't offer that much support. Like, they can know that you passively support them, like, oh yeah, I've told you that I, want you to succeed at this. Having told them that in the past isn't good enough. Being active and saying, like, in the moment, like, that looks really good, or like, I can tell that you've worked really hard on this and this is turning out really great. It makes a world of difference.
It really does.
Tip number 2, challenge each other. This is kind of taking active support a step further.
The idea behind this tip is to be actively challenging your partner. And by that, it's not like you're pushing each other's buttons.
Yeah.
It's positive. It's like positive challenge.
Challenging your partner to keep up with that goal that they set for themselves.
Right. When you notice that your partner's lacking that motivation, you get to be that positive motivation for them.
Exactly. And not only does that help build themselves as an individual to be stronger, but it really helps build your relationship.
But tip number 3, this one is a little bit more difficult, but I think it's very important, not just for when you're in a relationship, but just in life.
Yeah, that's right.
Asking for help and support when you need it.
So on the other end, making an environment like where your partner feels safe to ask for help, comfortable to ask for help is really important. You're not a mind reader, of course, but you can use educated guesses to be like, okay, I'm sensing these emotions. I think if your partner can tell that you continually try and anticipate and try and help all the time, that'll make for an environment where they feel safer and more comfortable asking for help. So we finally made it to the redwoods with tip number 4. People grow and evolve, so too should your love.
This point, I think, is important because time is going to evolve you no matter what.
That's right.
As you grow older and as you have more life experiences, you try different things, you're gonna change over time.
No matter how close you are with your significant other, you will always grow and evolve as an individual. So if your love is not flexible and able to grow with you and with your partner's individual growth, then it could fall apart.
It could.
Somewhat easily.
It really could.
Obviously, for this tip to really work, you should be communicating about big life goals. And this one's kind of a no-brainer, so people hopefully should already know that. We're kind of talking more about once you're past those big discussions, still being open about your changes as an individual, about your growth, can really help solidify your relationship. So that way, if you do come across something that is a pretty big, significant change that might be difficult to deal with, hopefully it will be lessened because you're open and supporting each other and maybe even asking for help, in another tip.
So tip number 5. Don't keep score. This is the only don't on our list. Holding a grudge or keeping score comes from a lack of communication and a lack of true forgiveness.
If you're thinking Elisa ate my leftovers, so that means that I can eat her leftovers this time. That's another form of keeping score, and that actually means that there's something that you need to resolve that's underlying that you really need to communicate about. Communication about these type of things, though, is definitely a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, you cannot let the fear of a possible argument coming out of bringing light to the situation deter you from communicating with your partner.
Yeah.
If you don't resolve issues and you continue to keep score and hold a grudge, that tension will build and eventually will break.
Try and find moments where everything is okay. Your partner didn't just come home from a crazy stressful day at work. It's difficult because these are the moments that you want to hold on to, especially if there is tension. But these are really important moments to take and set aside and say hey, I meant to talk to you about taking my leftovers. I was really looking forward to that. So please, don't do that again. That's a lighthearted example, but still, that's a good way that we've found to approach these kind of situations.
I win.
All right, tip number 6.
Sex and intimacy.
General friend and family warning. If you don't want to hear us talking about sex and intimacy, then go ahead and skip to this time right here.
All right, they're gone. Let's get intimate. Okay, seriously though, let's get into this. So sex and intimacy, it's not just about the physicality. It's not just about the physical stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, a big part of sex and intimacy comes from self-care. Like when you put in time to your own self-care and you feel sexy, you broadcast that sexiness to the world, and especially to your partner.
Yes, and you should tell your partner that they look sexy.
Yeah.
Make them feel good. That's like, that plays into that kind of like long-term foreplay kind of thing.
That's right. It really is long-term foreplay, like you said, like because you build that tension and you tell them maybe just like a few times a week or even like every day, like maybe just casually before you're going out to a bar with your friends, like, hey, you're looking good. Like, because acknowledging that work that they're putting into their own self-care is huge. That builds that sexual tension, and then it's there for you guys when you're ready to cut it.
The other big thing is communication before, during, and after you get intimate, because honestly, if you don't know what makes you feel good, like how is your partner supposed to know? Like letting them know, like, oh, hey, I really dug that move. I really dug what you were doing. Like, honestly, it's weird to say out loud, but it's true. It's true. It's really true.
It's really true.
And it can be hard because that's when you're most vulnerable. Putting yourself out there, especially when you're like, literally, you're just yourself, like it's a lot. But if you do it, it can really pay off.
We're talking about long-term relationships here, so like the longer you're in a relationship, the more comfortable you can start feeling about opening up about these type of things.
Tip number 7 is communicate in your love language.
That's right. So you probably have read about this on some blogs and stuff like that. It's a pretty popular term, but it's popular for a reason because it really is important. If you are uncomfortable with saying I love you for whatever reason, that's okay, because there are a lot of other ways to show your affection, to show your love.
It's important to also know that about yourself. That's something that I struggled with for a really long time, is even just like opening up about my emotions.
Yeah, and there are a lot of other ways to help your partner feel that love. So like one of my favorite things to do is random back massages and neck massages.
I love that too. One of the things I love doing is early mornings helping you get ready for work when I know we have a late night, the night before. Getting up, making breakfast, getting coffee in you, and sending you out the door. Like any way I can support you. Like, again, the point is communicating in your love language. However you and your partner show each other affection, do it, and do it often.
Yeah, that's right. Tip number 8, make time for your partner. Now, technically, this is a love language, but we felt that this was way too important to lump in with another tip.
Absolutely. And you might be watching this saying, hey, Brett, Lisa, easy for you to say. Okay, true. It's definitely easy for us now. We live together, we work together, but it wasn't always that way. We were long distance for a really long time when I was going to school and
in San Francisco, and I was in Portland. Like,
it was hard. Like, it's going to be hard sometimes, and like that is totally understandable. But taking that time, no matter how tired you are, no matter how crazy your schedule is, shows your partner that you love them, that you care about them, and that they are the most important thing, and you're proving it by making that time for them.
So whether that is cuddling or calling on FaceTime if you're long distance, or even just like cooking a meal like for the other person, like that is really showing that you're making time. It shows that you're invested in this relationship, and you're of course allowed to like go off and do your own stuff and work and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, you should be coming home and making time for your partner. Like, even if you're tired, even just spending a little bit of time with your partner can have a huge impact.
All right, so tip number 9 is
individuality.
Wow, it's amazing how much your brain can just go blank. All right, so tip number 9, maintain your individuality. People can get freaked out when it comes to committing to long-term relationships for a lot of reasons. Losing yourself in a relationship, I think, is a big fear that a lot of people have.
We're still growing and evolving as individuals, even though we're within this relationship. And we were long distance for a while, and probably the only good thing about that was during that time we were really able to grow as individuals while still staying in a committed relationship.
Yes.
This tip is kind of the reverse of tip number 8. You need to make time for yourself. Now, this one's kind of hard for me and us especially because, like, hate to admit it, but we are definitely a little bit codependent. So we just want to spend all of our time together. But we know that like it's really important for us to pursue our individuality, even if that's just taking some time apart. And even if you're in the same apartment, take some time apart, work on your own projects, encourage your significant other to go and spend time with your friends without me. Like, that seems like such a weird thing to say. That seems like, oh, of course you would want to do that. But like when you're in a long-term relationship with somebody for so long, the default is always spending time together, like spending evenings together, spending dinners together, so that when finally it's like, oh, I want to go hang with these friends and like have dinner with these friends, but you don't know them very well, so like I'm just going to go do my own thing. I hate to say it, but it can be difficult. So making your partner comfortable with that and saying, yes, go, is great. Like that archetype of jealous girlfriend or jealous boyfriend who doesn't want them going out drinking with their friends, that's over. Like that doesn't need to exist. You need to make time for yourself, and you need to let your partner know that you're comfortable and you encourage them to go and pursue their individuality.
And it's awesome because if Brett goes out with his friends, I can catch up on my Netflix shows that I know he's not going to sit through.
That's
so
true.
I'm like, yeah, you go hang with your friends and I'm fine. So it's win-win. All right, so tip number 10, the final tip.
Yep.
We did it. Congratulations. Tip number 10 is create new experiences together. And our boy Anderson Paak says it best.
Do you want to make it better? Stay together. Hey, if you do, then let's please make some new memories. When you take somebody for your own, it can't survive on history alone. Yeah.
Meet me at the hotel motel, even though we've got... There's nothing wrong with routine. There's nothing wrong with chilling and watching Netflix or playing video games or whatever, but falling into a routine completely, exclusively during a long-term relationship can have a negative impact. So mixing it up and making these new experiences through a long-term relationship is really important. So if you do go to a new restaurant, that's cool, but it would be even better if you make it a restaurant that has food that neither of you have ever tried before. You try something new together. If it sucks, then that's a fine memory. That's a great memory. You can laugh about it, and it's awesome. Because we're always making new experiences together, we've actually, over the course of 10 years, never felt like that spark fade. And it's okay if you have felt that spark fade, because the best way to reignite it is making new experiences together. Travel, obviously, is like our form of creating new experiences, and it's probably the best form I would recommend to other people as well. But travel can get expensive.
There are plenty of different things that you can do on a budget that are just as amazing and just as fun. Go on a picnic together. You can go to a new bar that you've never been to.
Maybe a bar that you would probably never go to. Another thing to mix it up that's really budget friendly is learn something new together. Like, that's such an easy thing to do. You're already on YouTube right now. Go search whatever you want and you can probably learn it together. For example, right now, Elisa is learning how to play bass and drums. I already have been playing guitar forever, but like now she's learning how to do this stuff, and it gives us something new to do together, and it creates new experiences. So you could do music, you could do drawing, you could do dance, you could do cooking. Like, the list goes on and on. We're just pulling from personal examples here, but you could take that and run with it with your own interests. All right, so that's our 10 tips from a 10-year relationship. We've traveled a lot, and probably the biggest lesson that we've learned is there's no one way to live life.
That's right. Every relationship is unique, so just embrace that. Life is meant to be lived, and be open with your partner, love each other, and do whatever the heck you want.
And let us know, did we miss anything that's absolutely crucial to a long-lasting relationship that we didn't even touch on at all?
Did you disagree with anything possibly that we said? Any of our tips? Anything. Let us know in the comments below.
If you like this type of content, please subscribe to our channel and click the bell to be notified. That's really helpful to us.
As always, if you want to follow along with our travel lives, check out our social media sites down here. We'd love to hear from you.
See you next time.